The Trump campaign ought to use this opportunity to say, she says she cares. She says she's empathetic. That's her whole campaign. But look at the lives that have been destroyed that are piling up around her feet because of her policies, the inflation that's crushing families, the jobs that aren't coming back, the little businesses that have been crushed in city after city because she's incentivized crime and back on the police.
All right, guys, we are 62 days out, less than a week from the big debate. Oh, this is the good stuff. This is it, man. I got my Gravity Defyer shoes on because I'm running to the finish line of this race. I'm excited, in case you can't tell. Trump's campaign has a new memo out. I'll read you that in just a second, saying why they think they're winning. They're on top. Kamala Harris, by the way, in New Hampshire. Can anyone tell me why? What's going on? What do they know that we don't? First, second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, was in Virginia this week. She's in New Hampshire. Something they're seeing. You don't spend time in places you don't think you're going to win. Something's happening. Something is happening, and I'm just telling you what's going on. I want to review the messaging and the state of play today with Alex Castellanos, unbelievable longtime Republican strategist and ad maker, message guru. He's going to be here in just a minute. A lot to get into, but first, I want to tell you, I've said this for a while, right? We have seen the unexpected happen throughout this campaign, and the unexpected could happen in life. And that's why I have a Patriot power generator in my house. It runs on a solar panel, no gas needed, no fumes, right? No huge noise, no worrying. I mean, think about this. If it's an electrical grid attack, because normally we think about losing power just being because of the weather, natural disaster, or whatever. But if this is an electrical hit and you went to the gas station, assuming you're near one, you got to hope that that credit card reader works. They're not going to open if it doesn't. So you could be out of luck. That's the beauty of the Patriot Power Generator 2000X, is it runs on solar panels that come free with it. So the sun doesn't take credit card. That's free. You put that thing out and you can power the most powerful things, your refrigerator, tablets, TV. It's completely portable. You can bring it in your house. More importantly, somebody else has a problem, a family member, a friend, you bring it to their place. If you go to 4patriots.com/Spicer, you can have one too in your house. Just trust me, having dealt with this in the past, when the power goes out, you don't want to be wishing you had one. You want to get it now. It's going to go out. I hate to tell you this. It's either going to go out for an hour or a day or a week or maybe even months. Don't wish you had one. Go to 4patriots.com/Spicer and get a Patriot power generator right now with that solar panel, so that all you have to do is have everyone else call you and say, hey, can I borrow your Patriot power generator? Can I charge on your Patriot power generator? Don't be caught without it. Do it now. All right. Before I get to the memo from the Trump campaign, we've seen big tech interfere, both subtly in searches, shadow banning, things like that, and not so subtly, like Zuckbucks, right? The big folks at big tech know what they're doing. Well, check this out. Check what happens when you ask your Alexa, hey, Alexa, sorry if you're at home right now. I'm probably triggering your Alexa. But if you asked your Alexa yesterday, tell me something about Donald Trump, well, let's see what happens.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa,
okay.
Why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a strong candidate with a proven track record of accomplishment. As the first female vice president, Harris has already broken down a major gender barrier, and her career in politics has been characterized by a commitment to progressive ideals and a focus on helping disenfranchised communities.
Oh my gosh. Now, guess what? You know what Amazon said? It was an error. You know, it's amazing how these errors only happen one way, isn't it? It's never the other side that gets it. Never. Not once. Name one instance where it's the other side. These guys, we talk about things like election suppression, interference. This is big tech. You may think this is subtle. This is why I also worry about AI. Garbage in, garbage out. The people who are programming all these things are a bunch of liberals in Silicon Valley. No wonder you get the answers like this. It's not an error. It's not a one-off. This is intentional. This is what we're facing. We are facing big tech trying to suppress our voices and interfere with the election. Understand that. All right. We've got a great discussion coming with Alex Castellanos. He's a message guru, ad maker about what the Trump campaign needs to be doing, what's working, what's not. Before I get into that though, I want to tell you about a memo just came out. I'm going to read part of it with Alex in just a second, but this is part of it. It says President Trump and Senator Vance built a unity party backed by their support of Brian Kemp and endorsements from Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy. The American dynasty Democratic political family is siding with a member of the grand old party. That obviously is Kennedy. President Trump and his growing team of American patriots remain focused and will spend the next 9 weeks traveling the country, bringing hope and promise of endless opportunity to an America in decline. We hope it's only a matter of time before the public, through the Trump campaign, millions of citizen journalists and alternative media, that's us, breaks through and hears the real Kamala Harris record. That means they're relying on us. Not just me, but you. Because that's who we can't rely on the media. I'm going to talk about this memo with Alex Castellanos in just a second. It is unbelievable what's happening right now. But I want to emphasize this. The reason they're telling us this is they need us. We can't count on big tech. We just heard about this. We can't count on Hollywood or the media. It's up to us. So we all have a role to play in making sure that we get the word out and we explain what's at stake. I think a lot's at stake in this debate coming up less than a week away. So keep that in mind. Before I get to Alex Castellanos, though, I want to tell you one quick thing. A lot of people, especially probably Kamala, 6 days to go, she's bunkering down in Pittsburgh now for the debate. 6 days. This is like the Biden strategy, except she can't go to Camp David. She clearly has probably a bunch of stomach issues. She's nervous. But for most of us in America, it's not the same kind of thing that Kamala Harris is dealing with. We have stomach issues, an unhealthy gut. It was amazing. I had this interview with Tina Anderson. You can go back and check it out. I learned so much about the effect of an unhealthy gut on us. So much comes from it. It's not just our stomach, it's our mood, our skin. So much comes from that. I've realized that if you take the Just Thrive products, Just Calm and their probiotic, these are the pills. I have also gotten the gummy probiotics. It's like a candy, by the way. It tastes that great. But here's the cool thing. It's for a lot of us, we take a probiotic because we want to have a healthy gut or stomach. The research shows that almost all probiotics on the market don't get through the stomach to the intestine where they're supposed to. Just Thrive's probiotics do that. They are based on more research than anything else out there on the market right now. And they do what they're supposed to do. Why would you take a probiotic and try to get healthy if it's not actually doing it? The Just Thrive products do exactly what they're intended to because they're based on actual research. Unbelievable, isn't it? And for a limited time, you can try any of these Just Thrive products. Just Calm, which I take as well, or the probiotic, which I told you, it's not just the pill. You can, if you like the good taste, try the gummies. Trust me on this. Any of these, you get 20% off on your first time order. Go to justthrivehealth.com, justthrivehealth.com, and use promo code SPICER for 20% off your first order. Okay. Trust me, it makes a difference. You will not regret this. Go to justthrivehealth.com, use promo code SPICER for 20% off your order. All right. I want to bring in Republican message guru, ad expert, Alex Castellanos, to talk about where we are in these final 62 days. Without further ado, let's go. Hey, Alex, thanks for joining. Great to see you.
Good to be with you, Sean, as always.
Well, I appreciate it. There's a new memo out this morning from Chris LaCivita, Susie Wiles, the kind of co-campaign managers of the Trump campaign. I want to read you part of it, because it kind of struck me, and I want to see if you pick up on what I picked up. This is what they say. 3 weeks ago, the Democrats' newly crowned nominee, Kamala Harris, was leading at Nate Silver's Electoral College modeling. The forecast has since inversed in President Trump's favor. The state of the race is clear. With just 9 weeks until the most consequential election in American history, the Trump-Vance campaign has the momentum. Do Democrats and voters realize this, or is the mainstream media, in its attempt to manage public opinion and continue the Harris honeymoon, report a version of reality that is at odds with the facts? Consider this. Kamala Harris has been the Democrat nominee for 44 days and has still not done a solo interview or press conference. Kamala Harris has built-in defenders on national TV who routinely defend her with glowing headlines, made for TV segments, and little scrutiny. Nearly 90% of the dominant media's coverage of President Trump has been negative. It's not just a statistic, it's a reality. I got to be honest, I was a little shocked at the memo because, and I say this with respect to those folks, it's whiny. It's like she's getting a pat, and I want to hear, here's why she's bad. Here's why Kamala Harris is bad for the country. And I could go on, but it says Kamala Harris is, most recently the media covering for Kamala Harris, despite the bias, if the election were held today. I want to hear about his record and her, or do you think that people care about this? I mean, when I read it this morning, I was like, I'm already with you, brother. Like, you don't need to, I just didn't know if it was a selling point. Now, maybe it's just me.
No, I don't think it's you. I think you're exactly right. And, it's not hard to do. Just add another step. She's hiding. Why?
Why?
Tell me why. Yes, she's the Dr. Richard Kimball of this election. She's the fugitive, right? She's hiding from the authorities and hopes she never gets caught. But why? And because she's got something to hide. At least tell me what it is. That she's rejecting everything she's believed and everything she's stood for, that she's doesn't want to talk about defunding the police. She doesn't want to talk about opening the border and the lives of people who've been destroyed because of her policies. I do think it's not only hitting her on these issues, but the Trump campaign ought to use this opportunity to say, she says she cares. She says she's empathetic. That's her whole campaign. But look at the lives that have been destroyed that are piling up around her feet because of her policies, the inflation that's crushing families, the jobs that aren't coming back, the little businesses that have been crushed in city after city because she's incentivized crime and cut back on the police. Tell me about the pain she's caused, and I don't see that yet.
We're 62 days out, though. That's what worries me, the yet. And it's funny that you bring that up. It's on issue after issue. Think about it, right? She talks about price gouging. Their policies gave us inflation. Then they want to talk about corporations price gouging. You talk about crime, their policies. She wants to literally let criminals out of jail. She talked about funding the Minnesota Freedom Fund to get people out of jail. Then they want to talk about being tough on crime. She wants to talk today about helping businesses who her policies have crushed. I've never seen in 30 years in politics somebody on so many opposite ends of issues. Fracking, you go down the list over and over again. And Peter Navarro had this piece in the Washington Times where he called Tim Walz the Manchurian candidate. I feel like she gets away with being, tell me what you want me to be for, and I'm for it.
It's she's getting away with it. And of course it's unjust. And I understand the grievance that the Trump campaign might have. But yeah, people are going to be voting in a few days. And on top of that, in these battleground states, when you have so much money, so much media, we're getting near the point here in another month where it's all going to be wallpaper. The ability to change the race is going to diminish as you get closer to the end. Now is the time to start. Let Kamala Harris debate Kamala Harris. Which one is running? And it's not just that she's liberal and she's hiding it. What that tells you is she's more the same. She's just another politician. This whole campaign she's got that she's changed and fresh and new. No, she is the illness from which America suffers, which is self-serving politicians who tell you one thing, do another, and they have destroyed the country. And it's destroying people's lives. Look at what happened with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. There's a perfect example of lives she has destroyed and is ignoring and hasn't talked to those people. Those are all things I'd be hitting her on right now, as opposed to saying, gosh, she's really not having any press conferences.
Yeah, I just don't think, I get it. I'm pissed off. I think that it's ridiculous what she gets away with, but I don't know that it moves anyone. And so being mad, it doesn't get you anything. And so you've created some of the most iconic ads over the last few decades. You're a message guy. You mentioned the amount of money that's being infused right now. So what if they have to put up an ad right now? I mean, we know they're going to, saying, here's what we want people to know about us or her in 30 seconds. What should it be? What should the focus of that ad be in 30 seconds?
I would start with, she says she cares. She says she cares, but does she? She left the border open, and women who went out for a jog ended up running for their lives. She says she cares, but the inflation she's caused has destroyed families around the dinner table. You go to the grocery now and you can't, and you have to think about what you can afford to feed your family. She says she cares, but people have their businesses have been burned, their families destroyed again, and now she doesn't want to. And now she's changing her position on everything just to get reelected. Who does she care about, you or her?
Kind
I
of
would
like,
go
kind of
after.
like hey, she's a typical politician. She'll say what she has to say, right?
There's nothing new about Kamala Harris. She's more of what Washington's got now.
That's it. That's it. I think we got to tie her to being a typical politician.
If you can block her path to the future, block her path to being changed, this whole fresh thing is a lie. And one thing is being wrong on the issues and trying to flip away from them. But when you do that, you say something about yourself and what she's saying about herself. It's a character issue. When I talk to campaigns, tell them about the law of the car keys. If I'm going to give you my car keys to take me somewhere, what do I want to know? One, where you promised to take me, right? What's the destination? But just as importantly, I want to know who you are.
Right.
Can I trust you to take me there? She's cut a Faustian bargain, a deal with the devil. She's sold her soul for her to get reelected. And you can't trust somebody like that. We know those people, and she's one of them. And that's what's wrong with the country.
I feel like she's selling us an infomercial. We're buying something that right now at 11 o'clock at night looks really cool. We're going to get home and it's cheap and Chinese made and going to fall apart, but it's attractive at the time. Okay. She's telling us what we want to hear. It solves a problem that we think exists and we're not thinking clearly and we buy it. I mentioned you're an ad guy. Based on what you've seen so far from both campaigns, how do you rate what they've put out?
Well, I think since she is unencumbered by what has been, if you give her credit for understanding that she has to lie about what she has been and what she has believed, then I'd say her ads have been very effective. She's out there creating this whole new persona, and I think hey, I love the middle class. Same people I've screwed for my entire leftist career, and I think she's been very effective in not justifying the change. To me, she lost the election at the convention.
Why?
Because she flipped on everything and didn't tell you why. And that was her moment when she had a national audience to say, you know what? I've been vice president 3 years. I've learned some things. Some of the stuff we've done has just been a little too far out there. And you've told me this, and I heard you. And so, yeah, I've learned, I've grown, and we're going to do a better job. But she didn't do that. So all the change is inauthentic. And if it's inauthentic, it's not believable. And I think that's when she had the moment to evolve as opposed to flip-flop. And she blew it. And I think her advisors, her campaign consultants told her, don't worry about it. We don't trust you enough to handle this. So we're going to change your positions and we're going to barrel through this. And it's almost insulting and arrogant and condescending to voters. The little people won't notice. They won't care. And I think I've always believed that when you're dealing with criminals and politicians, you've got to talk about motive. Why are we doing this? And she didn't.
Do you think it's interesting that you say that about the DNC? I felt like that CNN joint interview was her opportunity
Another
to and it came across to me, and it wasn't just me. I get it. I'm not for her, and so she wasn't trying to impress me. But more people that I heard from said I was willing to give her an opportunity to tell me a little bit more about who she is, and I came away with an ick factor. And I get it why they want to hide her now. And the funny thing is, you mentioned this a minute ago, but Biden got away with the basement strategy because he was able to use COVID. And I think to your point about her handlers, this is their strategy. Like we'll roll her out. She'll give us speech. And by the way, we've seen this now that she'll use whatever accent, depending on where she is, to give the same speech, by the way. And that's what's so funny about this. I've seen now the back-to-back. But then they pull her back. So you get the impression that she's out there among the people, right? It's not a basement strategy, but she actually never engages with anybody. They roll her out. She says something. She cheers. She has people behind her. She shows them maybe grabbing their hand or something. So it appears as though she's actually glad-handing and engaging. But then she never does. And I get it after that interview. I was like, I wouldn't let her talk to anybody either. You saw it on the tarmac the other night when those folks came back from the Evan Gersovich came back from Russia, and she couldn't even say, I'm excited that they're back. She had to give a word salad.
This is just an extraordinary testament to the importance of having a president who understands the power of diplomacy and understands the strength that rests in understanding the significance of diplomacy and strengthening alliances. This is an incredible day.
I get it now, but I actually think, to me, the CNN interview was worse than the debate.
I think you're right. I think that was her final shot to get out there and justify. Tell us that she's grown and learned something. You know, if say you're a criminal and they caught you and they put you in jail, what do we as citizens of this country want to know about that person before we let them back out on the street? Are they the same person, or have they learned and grown? Well, she's changed all these positions. We want to know if she's learned and grown. Maybe she has one more shot at the debate to do that.
But can I say this? Why what I found fascinating is you and I agree on the analysis here, right? Why? And the only thing that I can come to is that, for example, why it's so obvious this, right? I think you would get points. You come to the CNN interview, you come to the DNC, and you do exactly what Alex is telling right now, which I agree with. Just say, hey, look, I've evolved. I think people give you credit. Wow, you've grown. But why wouldn't you? That's what I think.
Because it's not real.
Right. Because she doesn't believe that, right?
No,
that's
why. That's the whole thing. It is a fraud. On occasion, truth wins out, even in politics. And in this case, she doesn't believe it is expediency. She is doing this for political purposes. So, and that is coming across. One of the things that I tell campaigns about is another law, the law of the ketchup stain. If I have a big ketchup stain on my shirt and I walk into a room full of people, start talking to them, nobody's going to hear a word I say. Everybody's going to be looking down at the ketchup stain and say, does he know? Maybe he doesn't know. Should we tell him? I don't know. Maybe we should tell him. But if you get out there and say, oh my God, look at this. What a great hamburger that was, huh? God, I'm going to have to get this clean. Then all of a sudden you can engage with people again. You can begin to have a conversation. She's got a ketchup stain. And that's her big flip-flop on all these issues. She needs to say there's a reason for this, but it's not real. And that's why she can't do it.
So you mentioned the debate is this big opportunity. I agree with you. I think for both candidates, for separate reasons, this is big. I don't like to tell stories about or give inside information about what I say to the president or the conversation we have, but I will just say this. In the conversation that I had with him Friday, there was general agreement that she is a scripted person.
Yeah.
Every line that she delivers that we know about, we know is scripted. When she said to President Biden and accused him of racism for his stance on busing and said, I was that little girl. I mean, that was so contrived. When she told Mike Pence, I'm stopped. It's my turn to talk, or I'm talking. That they prepped her for that. And I think that she's going to come to the debate with like 2 or 3 lines that are about, it's something about being a dictator. Our laws aren't, our country isn't big enough for a dictator, or no one's above the law, some kind of crap like that. And I think as President Trump, as long as he doesn't take the bait,
Right.
it's going to come across as an inauthentic phony. If he can do what he needs to do, deliver authentic lines about his record, I think he wins. Give me your sense of what's at stake in this debate and what he should do.
Well, I think it's going to be very hard for him to change who he is. He's Trump. We know him. We love him, not despite his flaws. We love him because of him, because he is courageous enough to get out there and say things that just shock the hell out of us. And we'll go, yeah, that's what we need to take them on. If you're not that brave and that big, we're going to lose. So I think he's going to be him. And I'm not troubled by when he goes over the top. It's hard to fall off the floor. We know who he is. I think she is going to try to engage and just throw him off his game by saying things she gets under his skin. I'd worry about her saying, I can beat you at putt-putt. I'm a better, if I practiced a little, I'd be a better golfer than you. I think she's going to try to, I worry about the golf issue again. I think she's going to try to do things like that. And I think you're right. She will have a lot of rehearsed spontaneity, well-prepared spontaneity, right? She's going to have her lines, as you said. I hope what he does is ask her questions. Understand that a debate is not an opportunity just for the press to ask her questions. He can do it. He can do Kamoy Matsu like Kennedy did to Nixon. He can bring up things that put her on the spot and make her demonstrate she understands what the hell is going on, which she doesn't. So how do you justify this kind of monetary policy that's blown up this inflation, Kamala? How do you justify defunding the police, which is what you did, and the lives of people who were destroyed because of what you did? How do you justify this open border that has taken the lives of people? How do you justify Afghanistan? Tell me about what your thinking was, that this was a good idea to pull out Afghanistan in this disastrous way. I think he ought to be the interrogator here, and not in a. And he demonstrated some discipline in the debate against Biden, and it worked. I think he'll do so again.
It's funny that you say that. We again, without getting into detail, we talked about. I think his performance at the debate against Biden was Biden got all the attention for how bad he did. I actually think Trump exhibited a huge amount of discipline, and that went underreported.
Yes, which is, the thing he's criticized for, he did brilliantly in that debate. And I think he'll do it again. My fear is a debate doesn't change much, because I think he will do a good job. And I think she will have her lines, and she'll have some rehearsed spontaneity. And we'll come out of this. Both sides will have their sound bites that they can then multiply after the debate. And some of this is winning the debate. Some of this is winning the post-debate debate out there. Who sends out the best bites? And both sides will have enough to say, see, our side did good. We may have seen the shape of this race already all the way to the end. This may be what we've got. I think she's deteriorating. I think any exposure is overexposure for a candidate with so little substance, with a candidate with so little character, that she's such a self-serving politician. So I think she's in a decline. This is kind of like that marathon where the runner gets out to, one runner breaks loose early and gets a big, half a lap lead, and then starts gagging for air and slowing down. and Trump is catching up and she is losing. Will Trump make it? Will he catch her by the end? I think he will.
Yeah. Axios this morning has an analysis of the different groups that each campaign is targeting. This is what it says about the 6 groups that Harris is targeting. Women of every stripe. I guess if you're a woman, they don't define a woman, of course. This is going to be a challenge. Yeah. But college-educated men, young voters, independents, middle-class black voters, and turned-out voters. And by turned-out voters, they say this: when Harris said twice during her CNN interview that she wanted to, quote, turn the page on the Trump era, she was talking to these voters, low propensity or low information voters, as pollsters call them. These are Americans who've been exhausted by the country's increasingly poisonous politics since President Obama was reelected. So of those 6 that she's going after, we'll cover the Trump in a second. Where do you think that she has the most opportunity to maybe make some additional inroads?
I think again, the more people know about her, the less well she does. So I think the voters she has the best chance of hanging on to are those exhausted people who are just tired of all the emotional drama of these past elections. I think she is just hoping that she can get away with just being the hope for something better. She wants to remain undefined to those voters. Right. So who are the voters that she has the best shot at of not becoming anything at all? I think that's her opportunity for growth.
I love the fact that these guys tout themselves as like joy and hope and all this crap, yeah. But they're like the kid in the back seat when you're young and you're driving with your parents, and it's like, hello, Mrs. and Mr. Spicer, thanks for driving us, and then they're punching you at the side. It's like, wait, they're not the nice kid you think they are. And yeah. She loves to talk about joy and whatever, and then go after President Trump, go after all this negative stuff. And I get a kick. They're selling something that they're not. It's a product that's not. They want to sell a great tasting product that tastes like crap. And that's the reality. And they just don't want you to taste it. They're like, trust us, it tastes great, less filling, but it tastes like crap.
The less you know, the better she'll do. So who does she have the best shot at really not defining herself with until the election? The more she remains the blank slate upon which a portion of the electorate can project their hopes and desires for change. She wants this election to be about Trump. Let Trump beat Trump. I'll just be a door out of the room.
Yep.
And I think that's their whole strategy. Trump needs to close that door.
So here are the 6 groups that Axios says Trump is targeting. The bro vote, right? And they think that I actually agree with some of the strategy. They're going after, the Gen Z men. Trump has appeared on massive platforms with creators like the Nelk Boys, Aiden Ross, Logan Paul, and comedian Theo Vaughn. I actually think this is a smart strategy by them. Men who didn't go to college, black men, Hispanic men, religious Latinos, national security moms, and wild card. And they define wild card as each side is scrambling to identify and court first-time voters. So this is kind of like people who, I guess, they're the low propensity voters that Harris isn't targeting. Of those groups, where should Trump maybe spend the most time, or where does he have the highest degree of potential upside?
I think he has a couple of places to go there. One is I have written that I do think Trump ought to go after young black males. Something happened with the assassination attempt. There was a lot of Twitter exploded with young black men saying Trump's our first black president. The man is after him too. And I think he ought to go into that young black male community and say, after that attempt on my life, I heard from so many young black men who feel that they've been put down, who feel that they've been, their opportunities have been taken away by the insiders who don't want you to sit at their big table. I've been fighting those people all my life. They've tried to disrespect me and you. I think I'm gonna promise you, young black men out there, the same thing I promise every American, which is, I hear you. I'm going to fight for you against them. I'm going to make sure you have a seat at the big table, not just the government handout table, where they just drop you crumbs. I'm going to make sure you have a seat at the big table, at the big economy where you can prosper and you can earn your share. I think that not only helps with young black men, I think that gets Trump across the 50-yard line with suburban voters who say, wait a minute, Trump has actually got a vision that might bring this country together. So I think that's important. His movement. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I love what you're talking about. It's funny, though. You see all these videos online, Don Lemon and others talking to young black men in particular who are saying, I'm with Trump. Do you think that it's just not being picked up in polling, or that it hasn't manifested itself yet? Or because I think you're touching on something that's super important, but I'm just trying to figure out whether we're just not seeing it or it's just not there yet.
It's not been in the models in previous elections because it hasn't happened. It's like, how do you know somebody's speeding if you don't have a speed limit? We've never, in our polling models, we've never looked at, can Republicans get young black men? We don't build that model into some of our polling. But when I look on social media, damn, it's there. It's real. So, yeah, I think that's going to bubble up, but it's not just what it says about getting a little bit, maybe going from 10, 12% to 15 or 20% of the young black male vote. It says something about Trump that is different, which is inclusion. He wants to broaden this country, that it is for everybody. And that helps in the suburbs. It's like farmers. You and I have been in so many campaigns. The candidate who stands with the farmers gets the city vote, right? Because you care about people. So I think that's important. But I also think he's got something to do with Hispanics. He's got something going there. Democrats talk about the black-brown vote. There is no such thing. Hispanics are separate in many ways. A lot of them have come to this country. We're talking about American citizens. They've come here to build a better life because that wasn't available where they were. And now they're seeing that threatened by crime. They're seeing that threatened by illegal immigration. Trump is moving with those voters. I think he's got to continue to speak to them. But he's also got one other thing with Elon Musk. He's got RFK Jr. Holy smokes. When's the last time you heard a Republican talking about the health of our children and the future? When a Republican embracing a vision that's going to take this country into space, the future, new businesses, Elon, campaign with those people. Trump anger gets Trump to the 50-yard line. That gets him to his base. But to get across the 50-yard line, you need to care about people and you need to have a vision of the future. Two things which are hard for Trump to talk about sometimes. And he's got the path to those things with some of, what he's talking about is all of a sudden social media giants, Twitter, tech community, young black men. Wait a minute. That's part of a new Republican populist coalition that we haven't seen before. He can expand his vote.
Yeah, I want to talk about the tech thing in just a second, but there's one other group that I want to ask you about because of your background in ads and messaging in particular. You saw in both of those groups that Axios laid out, they said Harris should go after women of all stripes, basically women. They said Trump should go after security women, right? Women, it was kind of like Bush Kerry 04. I think we've seen now the largest gender gap probably in history with Kamala doing really well with women, Trump doing well with men. The IVF debate, the abortion debate, Roe v. Wade, how should Trump most effectively message? Because I think this is the one issue that scares the heck out of me, not just for Trump, but for all Republicans, is not effectively communicating our stance on abortion, on reproductive issues. What should Trump do? He tried the IVF thing. What do you make of what he's doing right now, and how could he better sort of maybe even just stop the bleeding when it comes to the gender gap?
Yeah, I think the IVF thing is a great move, and I think it's a great issue, and the way Trump's done it. I don't think the same about what he's done on abortion. Okay. Trump's brand is strength. It's not expediency. That's her brand. And when he looks like he's changing his positions for political purposes, I think it erodes his core. And so I think on abortion, you take your lumps, but you try to make it up in other ways. One, IVF, I think, helps. I mean, you can be anti-abortion, you can't be anti-woman. And I think that's where I would draw the line. And how do you do that? I think you attack her on the things people care about. Jordan Peterson says women care more about people, men care more about things. Right? And it's true. A ton of sociological studies about this stuff. But she has hurt people. What she believes isn't just wrong. Making the argument that it's wrong gets Trump to the 50-yard line. Show me the pile of bodies that is littered around her feet because of what she believes and what she has done. The crime she has incentivized, the destruction of lives because of our border, the failed foreign policy weakness that has destroyed our servicemen, cost them their lives. How many more people do we want to hurt the next 4 years? I think that is a way to push back with women voters. You're going to do this with your vote. How many more people are you going to hurt the next 4 years if you support Kamala Harris? We look at the pile of bodies, and I think Trump needs to go there. It's not just anger. Anger gets Trump to the 50-yard line, and grievance. It doesn't get him across. Care, compassion, and we can hope for something better. You know who's got a great slogan? Donald Trump, make America great again.
Yes.
Can you tell me what that means? I see an America where we're not destroying people's lives with crime. I see an America where we can come together safely in our communities. I see an America where you can go to the grocery and you don't have to decide if you're going to be able to buy that mac and cheese. Tell me about what make America great again means.
You know, I was talking to Lee Zeldin, the former congressman, Friday night when I was with the president, before I met with the president. And he said something, I hope that he doesn't get offended I'm sharing this. But he was saying, I know it sounds naive, but when the president used to say getting tired of winning, he's like, I know a lot of people in the media mocked it a little, but he said it inspired a lot of people. We like to win. We want to be on top. And that's your point. I mean, with Make America Great, I want to be forward looking and positive. I want to see the future look bright for me. And I like winning. And I mean, and when he says you're going to get tired of winning, yeah, I want to be tired of winning. I want to be kicking ass every day. And I want my government looking out for me. And I think you're right. Like,
You're getting to me with that, because nobody buys a stock for what it was worth yesterday, right?
Brilliant.
You run in politics because you want to lift people's eyes over the horizon and take them to a better place. Can you just show me the promised land? You know, when you talk about the promised land, you can build a religion. You can take people there. It's worked for a few millennia.
The last thing I want to ask you about, Alex, there was this social media thing that went viral. I played it at the top of the show. When you asked Alexa about the two candidates, when you asked about Donald Trump, it was like, I am not able to compute. We do not comment. And when it was like, what about Kamala Harris? It was, she's amazing. She's done all this great stuff. Amazon, guess what they said? It was just an error. It was, it's funny how these errors only happen onto one side. But you and I back in the day, you used to run a campaign, you put your plan together, you ran your ads, you put your messaging out there. We now have to worry about things like big tech interfering in the election. And I am really concerned between what Zuckerberg and Facebook and Google did last time to what we're clearly seeing now. And if this woman hadn't identified this and people hadn't put it out there, people wouldn't see this. But those are the subtle things that are happening in big tech to put their thumb on the scale of the election.
They are. And here's the good news. You heard about this. I heard about this. It's the thing big tech can't deal with. It is democratizing information. We all have more information than we've ever had. That's how we know Kamala Harris can't speak in anything but a word salad, or maybe even a word buffet. Now it's getting worse. So it in a way, it has its own corrective built in. And that's good. I mean, look, Kamala Harris has a lifetime of demonstrating she's just not up to this job. She's way out of the mainstream. And how do we know that? Social media. So I'll take the bargain. I'll let them censor a little bit because because of the amount of information it's giving me. And it also tells us them versus us.
Right.
This is who Trump is. This is what Trump's fighting, the censorship, the establishment. He's the outsider. And right now, for example, look at humor. Dave Chappelle, Bill Maher. All of a sudden, there's something new happening here. We're the outsiders making the case for change against the establishment that's trying to rig the game. I'll take that fight.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Well, I think it's a really great point. Always love your insight, Alex. Thanks for being with us.
Anytime.
All right. Well, listen, tomorrow we've got a great panel coming your way. And then on Friday, by the way, 2 more unbelievable battleground candidates. And I'm telling you, if you weren't to worry about Trump's ability to get 270, you are going to want to bookmark and hit that notification now for Friday's episode, because the path to 70 runs through some pretty interesting places. We're going to cover that on Friday. Thursday, as I said, great panel. Always continue to hit that notification button and subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.